Very good evening to you. This is Newsline Live. Sorry about the strange start. Still, this evening my guest is a man who's no stranger to the news. He's right here, having accepted our invitation to be present on Newsline Live. He's Professor Jeevan Hool, better known to some of us as Professor Ratna Jeevan Hool, who's of course a member of the Elections Commission of Sri Lanka. Very good evening to you, Professor.
Good evening to you.
And we're having some trouble with the audio. Sorry about that. Now then, Professor, you're no stranger to the news. You've made the news in big form over several months now. First of all, I thought I'd ask you, as a member of the Election Commission, can you first answer this question? What did the 19th Amendment to the Constitution... But before that, I want to ask you, how did these members of the Elections Commission how were they appointed? What was the basis of the appointment?
There is no prescribed process. The Constitution says there should be one professor, one administrator, one person with election experience, things like that. And in this case, I think the government called for nominations from the public, NGOs, and various organizations.
Right.
And we were nominated, and the Constitutional Council of 10 persons, that was also under the 19th Amendment, they chose some nominees and passed them on to the President, and the President appointed us.
I see. Now, was there an advertisement? How did you come to be appointed? Did they advertise for a job or what?
I think public calls for nominations, and the university teachers, Federation of University Teachers nominated me. Actually, they nominated me for the Human Rights Commission.
Right.
And I got appointed to the Elections Commission.
Which would you have preferred?
The Election Commission, because there is a certain amount of safety. Human Rights Commission people are not as...
I mean, what do you mean safety? What do you mean by safety?
I mean, doing our job means interdicting offenses against the election laws.
Right.
That's just one of our functions.
Yeah.
And politicians nowadays sometimes can be very violent.
Right.
Previously, we have had experience where politicians beat up some of the commission officials and things like that.
Oh, I see.
Broke up their cameras. So all of those things are very difficult now.
Right, I see. Because of the 19th Amendment?
Yes. Because there is less fear.
Yeah.
We are more secure in doing our job. No one can question us. Things like that.
I see. So you're independent?
Hopefully, yes. Because even to be independent, we must be independent as persons. So if I'm a very scared kind of fellow, I can never be independent.
Right. That brings me to, it fast forwards the question I was going to ask you in the fullness of time of this interview. And that is this. You say that you're independent, but there is a school of thought to say that you're quite outspoken, and sometimes this school of thought would say that you are not displaying this collective responsibility that, is there a requirement, for example, that all three members speak in unison?
No, there is no requirement like that.
Right.
We talk, we discuss, we disagree, we argue, but finally we come to a decision, and that decision is implemented. We all three sign the gazettes that need to be issued. For example, date of the election, there wasn't complete agreement at the beginning.
Right.
But we talked, we arrived at a conclusion, and all three of us signed the gazettes.
Right.
So I don't know what they mean by, if they want all three to speak with one voice, then we could have had just the commissioner as before.
Right.
Why have three different people? It is to encourage discussion.
To encourage debate within
the commission, yes.
And is it a good idea to let the public know that this is the kind of discussion you're having?
Why not? The public also has a duty to give its own opinion, and that influences us, influences our thinking.
When you have been so vociferous and outspoken, Is it out of a sense of frustration that although the 19th Amendment envisages an independent election commission of 3 members, that in your opinion, is that independence not real independence? Is that why you speak out as openly as you do? And there is a section of the public who absolutely love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a democratic country, free discussion, and what is meant by independence is that we as a commission, when we decide something, should not have our decisions altered by any outside forces.
Right.
And that's still going on. We have an independent commission of 3 independent persons.
And Professor Houle, are you happy that in the present context of this pandemic, CV-19, and so on, and with all the challenges that possesses and that brings with it, are you happy that the ambience is sufficient to ensure free and fair elections?
That's a tough one, actually, because we believe in democracy. In a democratic country, elections are a must.
Yeah.
At the same time, the laws say there is a right to life.
Yeah.
And we cannot...
That's the basic human right, isn't it?
That's a basic human right, and we cannot tell voters, we are going to hold elections whether you like it or not. It is your right to vote. Your franchise is a fundamental right.
Yeah.
Now, we are going to make you choose between the two. You must choose between your right to life and your right to
the franchise.
And we are trying to bridge the gap. We are trying to make it possible for people to vote safely.
Right.
So we will hold the elections as soon as possible, and we will facilitate the elections so that people can go and vote as safely as they can be.
And Professor, what is your independent view? Can we have this election safely?
We will.
Before the end of the pandemic?
Pandemic, I think, to answer your question backwards,
Yeah.
the pandemic might be like the flu. There is a flu season, people get flu. Then it goes away, disappears, then it comes back.
Right.
And I suspect, and some doctors agree with what I am saying, we have to learn to live with this particular COVID-19.
And whilst living with it, we can have elections.
We can find ways to ease the dangers to the public.
And are you satisfied fully with the mock election that took place in Nambalantota?
Only one, we have had only one mock election.
Yeah.
And we are going to have maybe about another 7.
Oh, really?
And over the next week or 2.
All over the country?
All over the country.
Including the north?
Including the north.
Right.
East, south, up country, everywhere.
Right.
And we will then draw our lessons from that experience.
Right.
And I think things are going fairly well. One of the most important conclusions from the last mock election is that people can vote, I think, 2 people in a minute, which is not very different from the normal voting speed.
Yeah.
Because one of our concerns was that when people come and they must have this 1 yard separation between 2 voters, things will get slowed down, and the law doesn't allow us to alter the voting from 1 day to 2 days or 3 days. It has to be all done in 1 day from a particular time to a particular time.
Right.
And so the fear was that if people are going to come in slowly and move a distance apart from each other,
yeah,
we might not have time for all of them to vote. And this particular mock election tells us that we can probably go with the normal speed, and we'll confirm that over the next few.
What about the bit about using the pen for your
Yes, the pen, you normally tend to touch each other, but we have found and then we have to dispose of the pen now.
Yeah.
Because
So you're going to use one pen for,
so no,
you
no,
need
now,
about 16 million pens.
Now, yeah, I know we can't afford that.
Yeah.
So what we are doing is to take a matchstick.
Right.
We are getting them ordered specially and squash one end so
Rather
that it's
fiery.
flat. Yes.
I hope you're going to do away with the
black head.
the black head.
Yes.
Right.
And then dip it in the ink, and we have tried it and it seems to work. We had to choose between matchsticks and cotton buds.
Why not
Like-
cotton buds?
They are more expensive.
Ah, right, there you go. I like a man who looks after the public's money. Good,
We all do.
all right. Well, I don't know about all. The people
Yeah,
who
I know.
robbed the central bank didn't think about that, did they? Anyway, that's a different story for another program. Rather, to ask you this, so you're happy well, you're happy with part 1, and
Yes.
you're going to do another 7.
Yes.
All right,
And I'm expecting the same result.
okay. And have you all got enough of the masks and all the paraphernalia that you'll need?
I think some officials went and had a discussion at the Treasury,
Right.
and we have been assured that the money will be found, and we are not to worry about whether we will have the money or not.
Right.
We will have it. So normally we spend 7,000 million. This time maybe 9,000 million.
I had several questions coming up from viewers and from the messages that we sent them. And one of the questions that got repeated many times is that, in your view, don't you think that laws to do with electoral funding is a necessity? It must be implemented. And one message says that some politicians may spend X, and the next one might spend 5 times X, and the other maybe, who knows, 20 times X. And that sort of creates an imbalance where the man with the more money may well get elected.
Yes. That is, I very much agree with that sentiment. The whole commission agrees with that. And we have been drafting rules on election expenses and how to account for that. Money must go into a particular bank account. You can't spread your money all around and so on. But unfortunately, we do not make laws. We only implement laws. Parliament has to come and make these laws. We have been asking Parliament to do this, and the people in Parliament have no interest in this. They have been just sitting on our proposals.
On that note, we're going for a break, and we'll see you on the other side of this break. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline Live, and our guest is Professor Ratnajeevan Hole, the member of the Election Commission of Sri Lanka.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. We're in conversation with Professor Jeevan Hole from the Elections Commission, a member of the board, a member, one of 3. Professor Hole, we spoke about election funding and so on, and you said that the legislators have not made any move towards implementing or creating laws which then the Elections Commission can implement. Does that indicate a frustrated politician in you, or are you a true Sri Lankan?
I think all Sri Lankans are frustrated, particularly the 50% women who have only 5% representation in Parliament. We have been pushing for a quota, and local government election we managed to get a quota.
Right.
But now the men are saying, the men who couldn't get into local bodies, they are saying it's a failure. And the only reason it's a failure is that the men couldn't get in.
Right.
I think women are doing a fine job, and we must have, how can 50% of the population have only 5% of representation in a parliament? Then we are no democracy.
Do you think that the root cause of corruption, state-sponsored corruption, is the fact that the winner takes it all, in the sense that the person with the most money finds it easier to get elected, and therefore this whole business of election funding, shouldn't that really be the focus of all attention for the Election Commission?
Very, very much so. These people have no interest in changing the laws because they are in Parliament, because they have liquor shops. You have seen figures about what proportion of our
Yes.
MPs own liquor shops, and they come in because they have the money. There are people who go around with pistols, and how can they change these things? We need better democracy. You have heard of the March 12th movement.
Indeed.
And March 12th movement emphasizes that we must elect good people.
Was the March the 12th movement, was that the catalyst that led you to make those remarks recently that were carried all over the media?
I felt, I didn't catalyze it, but I felt that I had good company. Many people who believe in these principles.
Well, you certainly appeared to be in good company. I just want to ask you this question. I know I read and I heard you say very categorically about all these things, that don't vote for cheats, for liquor owners, liquor shop owners.
I repeat that again and again.
You will. What about, did you say anything about any particular party?
No, I did not. Has
that been taken out of context?
Completely out of context. Two matters.
Right.
I never mentioned a party. I said don't vote for bad people.
Right.
And the second thing is it concerns the question was, there are 3 members of the commission, why are they targeting you?
Right.
And in answer I said I am a Tamil, I don't speak Sinhalese. So they know that I cannot read the rubbish they write in the Sinhalese language.
Right.
And I cannot respond, cannot go for.
I just want to clarify, you don't mean that all that's written in the Sinhalese is rubbish, but you were referring to a particular article.
That particular group.
Right.
There is an orchestrated attempt to blacken my name.
Right.
For example, I am a dual citizen. I hold US citizenship.
Right.
So I am ineligible to be a member of parliament.
Right.
They write these articles that are seemingly researched, and they send it to newspaper people. Newspaper friends have told me they have got these articles that I have a deal with Sumandran to be a nominee.
Do you have a deal with Mr.
No, I
Sumandran?
don't. Because how can I? The deal is that he will make me a nominated MP.
Right.
How can I be a nominated
But
MP?
you can't.
I cannot be a nominated MP. Okay. Why would I make a deal like that?
Would you ever consider a life in politics?
Not in this atmosphere. This is just not suitable for until things change.
What do you mean by this atmosphere? Do you mean an atmosphere of a warped democracy?
It is a warped democracy where they say, I mean, for example, they say, it relates to your question that you cannot name a party.
Right.
Right? But we are a group that maintains election laws.
Right.
And we are supposed to be neutral about it.
Yeah.
Being neutral means whoever breaks the law, we must prosecute or send for prosecution. And according to this interpretation, if a policeman has to be neutral in implementing the law, and he finds person X murdering another, then he should not, to be neutral, he should not name the person. Then of what good is it? The whole thing becomes a joke. He has to name the person and institute charges. Just like that, the election commission, when parties or individuals break the law, we have to say this fellow is breaking the law and we must stop it and refer the matter for prosecution.
Right.
That rarely happens though. It's a club.
It's a club.
It's a club. They want to talk about the laws. They want to talk about the March 12th movement. But when it comes to real implementation, they will still nominate the dirty fellows. All parties.
They don't really want to walk the talk.
No, why? Because everything is fine for them. Everything is fine for them. They get elected with their dirty money. Many of them, not all. Why would they want to change that? The people really need to rise up and change the system, and not. I
like that. You said people really need to rise up.
Yes.
There's a song as well, Rise Up Sri Lanka.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. It went viral. It went viral everywhere. So, Professor Houle, the other question, somebody's asking, many people actually ask the same question, which is how will the people who are under quarantine, how will they vote?
That's a difficult one. They have a right to vote. When my daughter was in quarantine, she was in Nigambu, quarantined in Nigambu, whereas her vote is in Jaffna.
Right.
And almost everyone in quarantine, I think, is from very dispersed places.
Oh, okay.
And they are at the time of voting, they have to check the records to say whether you are registered.
Right.
How are they going to do it when Each person is from a different place. Whereas if I were voting in Jaffna,
Yeah.
I will walk across to the school opposite my house. Their voting registers will be there. They just check and
But
show.
if you were in quarantine, and even if you were in quarantine in the same area that you vote from,
Yes.
or nearest to that place as
Yeah.
possible, how would that process work? How would can you come out of quarantine to vote?
No, I think there must be some arrangement in the place of quarantine
Right.
for officials to go. Be careful. They might have to wear special clothes. I don't know. We have got medical advice, guidelines from the Ministry of Health. They are now published, but still there is a weakness. These things cannot be enforced
Right.
because there is no law to say that these are laws. So we have asked now the ministry to use the quarantine ordinance to put in the legal framework,
Yeah.
so that what we have guidelines become the law.
Right.
And unless that is done, it will be like another Tondaman funeral or Dylan Pereira's father's funeral,
Yeah.
where everyone mingled. And I would hate it if on election day or during a rally 1,000 people turned up and we cannot do anything about it.
Professor Houle, are you apolitical?
I won't say that. Politics is how we govern ourselves, and I cannot be apolitical.
Right.
No one can afford to be apolitical. That doesn't mean party politics. I am not aligned to any
But
party.
we just need to end now. Final question. How would you best describe yourself? Patriotic Sri Lankan with the people's interests at heart?
Of course, very patriotic. And it's very upsetting to me that, I lived abroad. I never joined the LTT or their fundraising. A paper just 2 days ago, a dirt paper, I won't name it because you don't want me to.
Well,
They have,
as a matter of practice, we don't.
I know. They have said that while living in Nigeria, I was raising funds for the LTT, whereas they were trying to shoot me, and I lost about 10 years of my life living abroad.
Well,
So how can I be apolitical? I'm very conscious of my political rights.
all good wishes to you, Professor
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ratnajeevan Houle. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
being
very
on
much.
Newsline Live. And that's the way it was on Newsline Live this evening. Thank you for watching. Take care. Great evening ahead of you, of course. And God bless.
God bless. Good night.